Okay, this is lesson 105, square roots of large numbers. So we're going to start with an example that you already know how to do, and that's the square root of 50. And you know that if you're doing the square root of 50, you want to break it down into powers that you know. And immediately I see a 25 there and a 2. So the square root of 50 is the same thing as the square root of 25 times the square root of 2. And you should know by now the square root of 25 is just 5. So we end up with 5 square roots of 2. Okay, so we're going to be doing the same thing today, but we're going to be using very large numbers. So what you need to review are your powers of 10. If I have 10 squared, we know that's 100. 100 squared, 100 times 100 is going to be, it's going to have 4 zeros, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be 10,000. Okay, if we have 1,000 squared, it's 1,000 times 1,000. How many zeros is it going to be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 1,000,000. And let's just do one more. If we do 10,000 squared, 10,000 times 10,000 is going to be 8 zeros. So 100 million. Okay, so what you're going to be doing is you're going to be taking numbers that are large like this and taking the root of them to get numbers like this. So for example, the square root of 1,000,000 is 1,000, and so on. So let's do example 105.1. It says simplify the square root of 50,000. Okay, so you start big. It's not 1,000,000, but it's 10,000. So 10,000 goes into 50,000. So we can say that the square root of 50,000 is the same thing as the square root of 10,000 times the square root of 5. 5 times 10,000 is 50,000. So we know the square root of 10,000 is 100, and square root of 5 cannot be simplified, so our answer is 100 square roots of 5. Okay, 105.2 says square root of 500,000. Simplify. Okay, so again, start big and go smaller. So looking at our list here, it's not 1,000,000, so our next smallest perfect square is 10,000. So we have to think, okay, how many times does 10,000 go into 500,000? So it's 10,000, well, times 5 would be 50,000, so it's actually times 50. So 10,000, we know easily that's the square root of 10,000 is going to be 100. The square root of 50, if you remember, we just have to come back up here, is 5 square roots of 2. So this is 100 times 5 square roots of 2. 100 times 5 is 500 square roots of 2. So your answer is 500 square roots of 2. Okay, let's do 105.3. The square root of 40 million. Okay, start big. It's not 100 million, but 1 million does go into 40 million. So this is the same thing as 1 million times 40. So we have the square root of 1 million and the square root of 40. Okay, we know the square root of 1 million. If we come back up to our list, it's 1,000, because 1,000 times 1,000 equals 1 million. Square root of 40, if we break that down into perfect squares, the thing that stands out to me is 4. So you got 4 and 10. I know that square root of 4 will break down. 10 breaks down into 5 and 2. That's not going to work. There are no perfect squares in there. But square root of 4 is 2. So we have 1,000 times 2 times the square root of 10. 1,000 times 2 times the square root of 10 is 2,000 square roots of 10. So that would be your answer, is 2,000 square roots of 10. Okay, one more. Okay, try square root of 700 million. Okay, so go back up to your list. We know we have 100 million, so it's 100 million times square root of 7, so 10,000 square roots of 7. This lesson is pretty simple. We'll do the last two practices just to make sure you have it. Square root of 150,000. This is practice A. Okay, 150,000. When I go up to my list, 10,000 times 5 is going to be 50,000. 10,000 times 15 is going to be, let's see, 10,000 times 15, is 150,000. Sorry, had a brain pause for a minute there. 15, square root of 15 is going to break down to 5 and 3. None of those won't break down into perfect roots. So we know the square root of 10,000, coming back up to our list, square root of 10,000 is 100. So 100 square roots of 15. And lastly, practice B, the square root of 500,000. Okay, so go back up to your list, 500,000. We'll go to 10,000. So 500,000 is the square root of 10,000 times, if I just times it by 5, it's going to be 50,000. I need to actually multiply it by 50, because then the number of zeros is going to match 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So square root of 50, again, square root of 25, square root of 2. And I know square root of 25 is 5. So I know the square root of 10,000 is 100. Square root of 25 is 5 times the square root of 2. So 100 times 5 is 500 square roots of 2. Okay.